Today, Westbrook, who was a 9-time All-Star and 2017 NBA Most Valuable Player, is entering the final season of his original 5-year, $206 million contract. And from the West Coast to the East Coast, after creating a list of teams he would have liked the Nets to consider working with on a sign-and-trade deal if they couldn't agree on terms for him to stay in Brooklyn, and the Lakers were the only team known to be interested. Kyrie Irving has opted his $36.5 million option with the Brooklyn Nets for the next season. Woj reported that today, which leads us to wonder, do the Lakers or the Nets have more question marks? Freddie, I'll start with you.
Oh, for me, it's the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think there's any doubt about it because of one guy, and that guy's Kyrie Irving, because right now he's the most polarizing figure in the world of sports. And I'll say it, I've said it before, guys, and Victoria, and I'll say it again. I don't think he is a dumb person. I think he's very intelligent, very smart, but sometimes he acts too smart for the room, or he thinks he's more intelligent than the room. When you're going to put yourself out there like that, the way he's been able to put himself out like that, you're going to have a lot of people come at you or support you. So he's the main guy, as far as I'm concerned, why this is a loaded question, as you see on the graphics right now. Because of him, that's why all these questions are more with the Brooklyn Nets than the Los Angeles Lakers. Not because of Kevin Durant, not because the Nets have not mattered in a New York Knicks town for a long, long time, otherwise known as forever, but because Kyrie Irving is that polarizing kind of guy, and all that attention is focused on him.
This is the first time I've met Freddie here. What a nice guy.
He's a great guy.
Here we go.
Lost. He's lost with his opinion.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's the setup.
Stephen A. I can yell at him and I get upset. He's such a good guy. I'm going to have trouble here, but he's wrong.
Okay, here it is.
But
we knew it.
There we go.
You have to put the Lakers in this category in worse trouble because one reason is age.
Yeah.
And the other reason is health. Who knows on Anthony Davis? LeBron's 37. You have to figure. And Freddie's right. His biggest issue for Kyrie, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So, but I'm going to think for a second that for once he's going to realize that the world, take it easy, all right? You took your 36 million, play 70 games. You had a terrible year last year with the vaccination. He got wiped out in the first round. So maybe he'll be on his best behavior and he'll want to play and not go out, take a week off when his kid, somebody's got a birthday party they did 2 years ago. So as a result, I think you'll see the best Kyrie here in 2022.
Okay.
And Westbrook, boy, America's a nice place when you can sign for a opt-in for $48 million off the year that he had. So I think the Lakers have a new coach, too, with him. I think the Lakers got many more issues than the Nets do.
What's this question say? It says, which team has more question marks? Freddie, the Lakers have 6 guys under contract.
Yeah.
I don't even know who there's going to be their starting lineup. But I think both of these teams, like recently, I think Sean Marks, was seen meeting with Rob Pelinka. Can you imagine what they're saying? They're both going, boy, I wonder if Russell Westbrook will change who he is. He's one of the most interesting, amazing, iron-headed guys we've ever seen. Maybe he'll change. What do you think? That's what he said. He's going, well, maybe Kyrie.
Yeah.
He's one of the most freest thinkers and goes left and right and right and left. Maybe he'll change and he'll actually focus. They're both like, oh, my God, what are we going to do? They both need these guys to do. They need them to come through, which is why it's not completely ridiculous that at some point this year, if it's not going well for either of them, they can be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Because both of these guys are extraordinarily talented. Both of these guys' contracts are now in their last year, and both these guys have huge incentive to do a certain thing, and they still might not do it. And so who's got more questions? It's the Lakers. They have no players on their team. But both of these teams are losing sleep about what's going to happen with their star players.
Well, here's the deal with that. The Lakers put themselves in that situation by going all in with LeBron. They allowed LeBron to play general manager from this standpoint. The Brooklyn Nets are different from the standpoint in terms of why I think they have more questions based on one guy, Kyrie Irving, because when you're a desperate organization that has not won a championship since Dr. J played for the New York Nets, we're talking about 2 franchises in 2 different places later. Since the New York Nets have mattered in the city of New York. You bring in a sign with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and everything that comes with it, all of a sudden now, that's why that's the bigger question more than any of the Lakers questions. The Brooklyn Nets have to be championship or bust. Nobody's talking about that, the Los Angeles Lakers right now, because of a loaded Western Conference. To your point about we don't know who's going to be on the roster, they may have to go back to old YouTube tapes and bring back Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the skyhook to see if that's going to work.
Yes.
But the Brooklyn Nets right now have a team that they basically told everybody, we're going to win a championship in Brooklyn. We're no longer going to make this a New York Knicks town. Good luck with that. So if that's going to be your case with championship or bust, as many questions with who's going to be in the Lakers roster, I'm not saying Brian and Chris, you guys are wrong with that standpoint, but when your main drag, your main bag is championship or bust, that overrides any other questions on the other side of town when it comes to Los Angeles Lakers.
100%. Now, one thing, I don't think Durant wants to have anything to do with Westbrook, and they would go nuts. He would quietly if they traded Irving for Westbrook. He's got to play with him. He left Westbrook, as it turns out, the first time.
Sure.
He don't want to play with Westbrook again. So I don't know how it would work. Cap-wise, you can do it, but how would Westbrook play with Durant?
I don't know where Durant is right now with what's happening. I mean, he's committed to Kyrie multiple times in a row. He committed to him when he signed here, when he could have gone elsewhere. To me, it's one of the most amazing things in the 20 years I've covered the NBA, that the choices that Durant had. I understand he wanted to leave Golden State. I'll take that off the table.
Sure.
He could have gone to the Clippers. He could have been where Paul George is. He could have had he could have gone to the Knicks. But he came to meet up with Kyrie. Then, a couple of years later, he didn't have to extend his contract last year. He extended that contract with no opt-out. That's amazing. He's like, things are going great here. I'm opting in. And then last year, when the Harden Kyrie thing went like this, he supported Kyrie Irving. When the team said, no, we're not going to have a part-time player in the vaccination issue, he supported Kyrie Irving. He has supported him and supported him and supported him.
I don't get it.
So over and over, I would have to say that in this moment that Kevin Durant would probably support Kyrie Irving. He comes on this podcast earlier this week and he goes, that's between them. That's between them.
Yeah.
Now, how does he feel today? How is he going to feel next week? How is he going to feel on September 20th when they come back together? These are questions I don't know. And I know, because I've seen Stephen A. over in that seat get into this with KD. When you try to say, this is what KD's thinking, KD roars back. That doesn't just play for the media. It also plays for the team. The team can't sit there and just say, well, let's assume how KD's thinking. So that is the question mark. When you say that they're going to go do a certain thing, you're trying to, and I don't just mean you, but you're trying to base what you think Kyrie is going to do, which is completely unpredictable.
Oh, you can't predict.
And what you think Durant is going to do, which is the most important thing for the organization.
Yeah, he's the best player in the league, Durant. I still think pound for pound. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how it's amazing he has latched himself on to Kyrie Irving. I mean, really?
It's one of the most amazing things I've seen in the NBA.
I mean, he's nuts. And I'll tell you right now, everybody read it here. JJ sat here last week and said differently. If I know a lot of Knicks fans, so do you. There is no way a Knicks fan wanted to root for Kyrie Irving and Magic.
Oh, God, no.
There is not a chance in America. I've been here for 40 years doing radio. The Knicks fan wanted nothing to do with Kyrie Irving. So I don't know if he had that many other options. I don't know what team wants him because there's so many distractions and so many things you got to put up with. He's great when he puts his mind to it and he just plays. You love him.
He's a 40%er. If you go study his career, first off, he's only averaged 55 games a year. He's now played a decade.
That's another problem.
55 games a year. 40% of the time, Kyrie Irving is absolutely unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No
I
doubt.
was sitting there in Oracle Arena when he hit the shot. I've watched him do things that I remember I asked him one time, I go, Kyrie, you do things with the ball. Because I would watch him at practice in Cleveland. And in practice, I would never see him do these crazy shots. I'm like, when do you practice that? I don't see you ever practice it. He goes, I've been practicing it my whole life. Okay?
Wow.
So his innate ability is unbelievable. But it's 40% of the time.
Yeah.
And because he's either not there or he's somewhere else up here. And so when you sign him or you go get him, you realize, based on his track record, listen, maybe this year it's 58%.
I would think if there's a year, Freddie, where he's going to come out and give you 70 games.
It should be this year.
If it's not this year, it's never going to be.
Right. Here's the deal with that, and you make a fair point in terms of if it's going to be this year. But when Kyrie Irving, and I said it earlier this week, Victoria was here, some people have a strong will and some people have a strong won't. He has a very strong won't.
He does.
If he doesn't want to do something, and Brian, you know this, he is not going to do it. You can tell him this table is made of this, and Kyrie will say it's paper mache, and you are not going to sway his opinion. That doesn't make him so much off kilter. It just makes him who he is. And if you sign up for a guy like that, despite his gifted ability to put the ball in the hole, you got to take everything that comes with it. My dad, Freddie Coleman, told me something a long time ago. Something with guys like this, they're just like fire. You can't get too close because you're the one that's going to wind up getting burned. And that's the concern for the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant.
And Kevin has repeatedly gone to the fire.
Exactly. He keeps going. It's like somebody tells him the stove is hot. No, it's not. The stove is hot. No, it's not. At a certain point, when you burn all your fingers, is it going to resonate? Kevin Durant, to your point, Brian, last week in the podcast, he tried to stay out of it. And I thought that was the right thing to do. You don't get involved with another man's money in an organization. But if you're going to be an alpha dog or be considered an alpha dog, then what are you going to do to make sure that everybody is on the same page? And that's the biggest question. Are the Brooklyn Nets ever going to be on the same page in a championship or bust situation?
Well, and another headline maker is obviously James Harden, who is an unbelievable player, makes a lot of headlines, stirs up a lot of things.